Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. How are you doing this morning, Tim?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We are settled down after we had one of our crazy dogs who doesn't seem to understand the word come or come back, took off this morning at 6 a.m. and just takes off. He has a lizard brain. He's not that smart. We love him, but he's not that smart. If he has an opportunity to take off, he will. And he did.
Yeah.
And he got picked up by a guy in a pickup truck who brought him back to us. Thank you, God, that he.
Thank you for that guy, because
Right.
the dog was running down the busiest street
In
around
the area.
in the middle of the road.
People drive 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So that was our morning.
There you go. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So before we get started, this is a disruptive one, everybody. We're doing this series starting last week, talking about things that nobody talks about. We're going to talk about it. And today we're talking about one that is something that I talk about. I have conversations with people all the time in my professional life, with colleagues, with my social media people, with my business coach, with you, my kids. So I talk about this quite a bit, but I've never talked about it on the podcast because I think it pushes, in some ways, the boundaries of the therapy and coaching space. And I'm going to do it because I want to talk about it. And I think you all would find it very interesting to hear about this. And you may disagree, and that's completely okay.
So you're thinking we might push some buttons today?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that because I like pushing buttons. And I love complex conversations. And I love when people disagree, when we can have really good dialogue. I'm always open to listening to what other people have to say. So I'm giving you my opinion, my professional opinion, really, and my personal opinion about this topic. So,
and it's not ending in a scuffle. We're not giving into the dark side that seems to be all encompassing of the world right now.
No, not at all.
It seems like it goes there.
This is my observance of what I see is happening in the coaching space. And I have had opinions about it, and I've not spoken about it, not very much here on the podcast. And I think it needs to be spoken to. I'm putting words and language to what I see.
Okay.
So, okay. All right. Before we get started, come talk to me. If you are interested in being coached, email me hello@annamarcolene.com. Let's get on a call together and let's see if you and I can work together. I would love to work with you. Let's see if I'm a good fit for you, and let's start this relationship. Okay. So please don't hesitate. I know that it can feel a little intimidating. Please, I'm not an intimidating person. You probably know that by now. I'm good at what I do. I'm the real deal. And reach out to me because I would really love to work with you.
Okay.
Okay, let's get started. Today's episode is about toxic positivity and spiritual bypassing. You're like, what the hell is that?
Here we go.
Well, I'm going to talk to you about it. So I see this a lot more in the coaching industry. I don't see this as a psychotherapist, and I don't see this with my therapy colleagues because we're wired and trained so different. And that's why I'm really a great person to work with, because I'm a therapist and a life coach. So I dabble in both of these worlds. I'm in both of these worlds. I go in, I come out, I go in, I come out. But I've been licensed mental health professional since 1993. Well, 1995 is my advanced licensing. And I've been in practice since 2000. Wow. So as a psychotherapist, and then went on to coach 10 years ago. I go into both of these fields. So it's really cool for me to see how the different professionals operate. And in some ways we're similar, but really we're very different in our philosophies and how we approach our clients.
And don't both sides see that? Is it being more different than more similar?
Both sides have opinions about the others.
Yeah, exactly.
Therapists tend to have more negative views of life coaches and coaches in general.
Yeah.
Because now I am generalizing, so please take this with a grain of salt. I'm generalizing here. Not everybody is this way. Therapists tend to view coaches of all sorts as coming into their world and don't have the training. Not all. And I know some excellent life coaches, actually excellent coaches in general out there, not just life coaches, but executive and business, of course, relationship coaches, really, really good at what they do. But you got to vet those people. So I'm actually starting at the end right now at the beginning of this episode that I always say this on here: vet your people, talk to them, get references, get people, get names and numbers and emails of people that they've spoken to. Any good life coach is going to give you names of people that you can speak with, you can talk about their experience with that coach, if that's what you're interested in. That's what I would do. That's what I have done. And that's what I recommend all of you do because of what we're going to talk about in this episode. But therapists tend to be more critical of coaches because we see that they don't have the training. And a lot of times what therapists and coaches do, it's sort of therapy light. And I don't agree with all the therapists and their criticisms, but I understand the tension between the two fields.
Yeah.
And coaching is really growing.
Yeah. And it's not like they don't have any training. It's just that the training they have.
You have to find out what their training is.
Yes.
And you have to find out what school they went to.
There you go.
Because you can go to a conference room and a Holiday Inn for a weekend and do 2 days and come out with a coaching certification. Now you're a coach versus going to the gold standard, the ICF, International Coaching Federation, which is like a master's degree, which I think is 2 years plus supervision, plus you have to coach and you have to be watched. That's different.
Yeah.
That's worth its salt.
Sure.
So you have to really find out where they got their coaching certification from. I get crazy about this because I see this a lot. This is more the coaching world. I don't see this as much with therapists. Toxic positivity and the spiritual bypassing. It's spiritual. So what is this we're talking about? We're talking about people who are all about like love and light. Love and light. And you see it more like in people who go to retreats and spiritual healers. And what they often miss is that it's blocking people's ability to really heal. They don't really understand how to coach around it because they don't have the training in working with people in deep pain. Spiritual bypassing is one term I want to talk about today. And actually, this was new to me when I was doing my research. This is a phrase that was coined by the Buddhist psychotherapist John Wellwood in the 80s. It's been cited pretty widely in Psychology Today publication. And what it does is it uses spiritual beliefs or practices to sidestep really the raw and messy emotions that most of us have, or sidesteps our accountability. An example of this would be where you've heard the term, let's say you're going through something really rough. And I say to you, Tim, everything happens for a reason. I mean, what do you want to do if I was to say that to you? Your cancer diagnosis back in 2016
Happened for a reason.
Tim, everything happens for a reason. What would you think?
I'm not listening to you much more.
You're not really. So there you go. You're like, yeah, let's shut that
I'll
down.
consider what you just said, and then I probably won't use you as my resource for many things.
And
Right?
I won't listen to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard this a lot in grief and loss with patients who have died. That is the worst thing to say. At that time, my patients talked with their family members who would say that, or friends would say that coming to a wake or a funeral, and they mean well, but they would say that. And some people want to get physical hearing that, like they want to hit you. That is the worst thing you could say to me. And you obviously have no idea. You lack empathy and you have no idea what this sort of pain is like because you've never been through something like this before. Because if you had been through something like this, you would never say that to me.
Yeah.
So that's spiritual bypassing. The next one is toxic positivity. And I think a lot of us know what that means. So I'll give you the core idea behind toxic positivity. And that's where we prioritize upbeat vibes to the exclusion of genuine feelings. And what happens is it can equate negative emotions with one's personal failure. And this is described in nursing as well as in psychology literature. It's really an exchange that leaves the receiver of it worse off. It makes you feel worse. It's love and light. Oh, don't worry. It'll be okay. Don't worry. You'll get over him. He wasn't worth it anyway.
Yeah.
She wasn't worth it anyway. Come on. You'll be okay. You wake up tomorrow morning and you feel so much better. You just need a good night's sleep.
All will be well.
Yeah.
Wait, so you're
That's
not
toxic positivity.
But it doesn't have to necessarily, this doesn't have to be coming from a professional, right?
No, right.
You're talking about just in life.
We're talking about
this could
in
be
life.
like some random person
Right.
says this
Right.
to you.
Like I said, and I'm going to probably repeat this throughout, not all coaches are this way, but I have seen it in the coaching industry. And the really good coaches, when they start to see that their coaching clients are going deeper with something that's really hard for them, the really good ones will say, you need to get a therapist because I'm not trained to treat this. And I do see it. I have seen it. But there are others who I think they are overly confident in their abilities, like a trauma coach, but they're not trained in PTSD training, or they're not trained in grief and loss work. This is what I see. And I got into an argument during COVID on this app that I used to be on, Clubhouse. It was an audio app. I got into an debate with a trauma coach because she wasn't trained in trauma. And I just think, really, what's a trauma coach? Because of her own personal trauma, she thought she could train everybody else in trauma work, or she could air quote counsel you in trauma work because she had been through trauma. No. Just because you've had an experience of trauma doesn't mean You are skilled and you have the boundaries to know how to treat another person through their trauma. And that is an ethical issue for me. And that's why I'm disruptive, because that drives me crazy. And I think that that's somebody you should run. Do not walk to the nearest exit around someone like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm not sorry. I feel strongly that first, do no harm. And I know that that person thought she wasn't doing any harm. She was helping, but unwittingly, she was going to end up doing harm because they really doubted her skills.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about here.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I see a couple different scenarios where this could come up. I mean, this could come up from a professional, like a comment of what you're talking about could come from a professional, air quotes professional. It also could come from anybody else. So it could be a family member, a friend.
It does come from,
right?
Yes, it does.
Right. And so when it comes from that group, does it come from that group because if you think about like a funeral or a sad situation, most of us don't know what to say. So does it come from a place of like, oh, I got to say something?
Yes.
Right. So there's that.
Yes.
And there's also the person that's just overly positive all the time. All things are rosy.
Because they haven't dealt with their own shit.
Right.
Because they haven't dealt with their own issues in life.
Yeah.
They're operating at a surface level for themselves, and they don't know how to give or to reach out to you because they're not doing it within their own lives.
Yeah. So a good takeaway from this is don't be that person. Think about what you say. Going to a funeral, let's say. That's the scenario.
Yes, you're at a funeral and you don't know what to say. That's what you say.
Yeah.
The spiritual bypassing or the toxic positivity, you say, I have no words. I don't know what to say.
Right.
Because you've never experienced it before.
Correct.
And you know, like, I don't know what to say to him or her. I don't know what to say to them.
Yeah. Sometimes it's best to say nothing.
Yes. Give them a hug. Make eye contact.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have no words. Because when you are the person that's your family member, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough.
It's like you're giving them like Disneyland talk,
Yes.
right? Like all is well,
That's
right? And here comes Snow White and all the
Right.
little people. It's like, no, it's not all good.
It's not all good.
Yeah.
I'm in the worst state of my life.
Yeah,
I
totally.
barely could get out of the car, get dressed to get here.
Yeah.
So when we do this spiritual bypassing and we do this toxic positivity, both of these mechanisms deny complexity of the human person. And that's really important, bears repeating. Both of these mechanisms deny complexity of the human person, one with spiritual mantras and the other with relentless optimism. Time and place, like you say all the time, down and distance, time and place. A funeral, a wake, someone who's going through something. I think most times the spiritual bypassing, just pray, go pray, suck it up. Or what is it that I grew up listening to? Go pray about it. It does seem to minimize or dismiss the feelings or your thoughts in the moment.
Yeah.
What it would say to me when I've had this done to me in my life is that, oh, the person's not available. They don't want to hear it. They're not available to me.
Yeah.
It's dismissive.
Yeah. I mean, it is a process. You have to go through the grieving process. But in this case, there are steps in there. It's not just a light switch where you're going to flip and all's good. There are things that have to be handled, dealt with, processed along the way for you to become capable of coming out the other side.
Exactly. You got to do the deep work.
Yeah.
Okay. So here is why the coaching industry and the wellness industry is really fertile ground for this. I'm just going to say this. The industry is really built on promise and motivation. So it can be a air quote, good vibes only attitude, good vibes only, because that's marketable. People are attracted to that. We are attracted to that. Good vibes only. We want the promise. We want the motivation. We need it. We're struggling with it in our own lives. And we pay coaches to help us get more motivated. Me, I'm a confidence coach. I'm a coach of a lot of things. One of them being confidence. I had a newer client come to me. She found me on the internet, a confidence coach. She's looking for confidence. And I'll talk about some of my clients because this is why I think I'm going to toot my own horn. I'm the best at both worlds because I have a radar for issues and we're going to deal with it. And there are coaches who are like me, have a radar for it. But the coaching industry markets itself on all this positivity. And that, I know you're going to say something.
No, I think that's the issue right there. I want to know that you're positive. You're going to come from a place of positivity, but I don't need to see you gift wrap that in all of your social media and everything else that you put out there to the world. I don't need to hear this because it sounds fake. Anybody that's listened to this that is not into this is a professional, which is like 99% of the listeners are going to be like, yeah, I've seen that on fill in the blank.
And I've had
Facebook, TikTok, right? You've seen it.
Well, and that was my next point, is that in the coaching industry, their social media accounts really amplify it with hashtags like self-love. I'm going to be guilty of this because one of them that I did my research was lucky girl syndrome. I have talked about lucky girl syndrome because I do think that that is a thing too. Lucky girl syndrome is really about a positive mindset. So for me as a therapist and coach, I balance the two because I'm not going to knock that, because I do think that that is a positive mindset, and how you think, that's how you show up in the world. And then really the positive things in your life do come to you because of your own mindset. It kind of goes a little bit into manifestation and manifesting things in our lives. There is room for that. So that's why for me it's nuanced, but it is going into both worlds. But I'm not going to talk to somebody who's coming to me for confidence work and say to them, you should have this lucky girl attitude.
Yeah.
You just need to change your mindset and be positive and move forward and manifest it, and all these good things are going to come to you. No, it doesn't work that way. It's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
I do think that positive mindset works. It's neuroplasticity. And at the same time, when my client comes to me and says, I want to work on my confidence, well, first I got to understand where you come from and why you're not confident right now. And I'm telling you, most people are dealing with self-esteem issues that go back. And that's why therapists are great at this, because we're going to go back. Now, I'm not going to spend months and months and months with my coaching clients on this, and they don't want that. They're not coming to me to do that deep work for months and months. We are going to spend time. Sometimes it's a session, sometimes it's a little bit more, for me to understand why you're lacking in confidence. Then I can write your program for you. Then I'm like, okay, this is the work she's got to work. This is what she's got to do. She's not confident because of this. Each individual's case by case basis, each client's different. That's where I think sometimes coaches don't know how to do that work. That's what's hard for me at times, is so I go between the two, but it's hard for me sometimes as coaches because they don't really understand how to work with somebody on self-esteem. Some of these people have inner child work they've got to do. Some of them have shadow work that they've got to do. And coaches don't know how to work with that because they haven't been trained in it. And like I said, I'll repeat it again and again. The really good coaches are like, yeah, I'm over my skis with this. I can't do this. You got to see a therapist. You can see us at the same time. You can still work with me, but you got to get to see a therapist on this because I have no idea how to do this inner child stuff.
Hopefully.
And I ain't touching it.
Yeah.
And I know coaches who will do that. I'm not touching that.
Yeah. Do you think there is, though, an appetite for some of this surfacey stuff in the world? If that's the way you market yourself, it's like, oh, it's going to be good. That's your marketing platform. I gotta imagine there's also an appetite from a consumer point of view for that. There are some people that are like, oh, I love
What do you think Mel Robbins let them theory?
Yeah.
Mel Robbins built New York Times.
I love hearing
She's
that.
on tour around the country talking
Yeah.
about let them, and don't even get me started on it.
Yeah.
Because it's all marketing. She's not a trained mental health professional. She think she got trained. I know who the coach who trained her years ago.
Yeah.
She's a guru in marketing herself. She has a great presence. She's got a strong personality. She's an attractive woman, and her voice resonates for people, but she's not trained in this field. The let them theory, that was a poem by Cassie Phillips that was written, a small little creator, a couple of years ago. Her daughter read the poem. It resonated for her daughter. The daughter mentioned it to her mom. Her mom's like, oh my gosh, this is resonating for me. And I'm sure a lot of other people wrote a book about it and trying to trademark it now. I'm not sure about that. But my opinion is that people are using that as their therapy. Let them what? Let them. I mean, that is from the world of acceptance and commitment therapy that we are all trained in. We can train you on this. This comes to the world of 12-step and addiction theory about letting people in your life. That has been around in the psychology circles for 100 years. This is what we as therapists do. I'm trained in this.
Yeah.
And it, I guess, drives me a little crazy because I wish that there were therapists out there who are more like that, who could make all the money that she's making. But therapists, we're a little bit more of a humble lot of people. And I know coaches, we're wonderful coaches out there, a little bit more humble. She just is a marketing guru.
Yeah.
Please. And it's self-help. And it's funny, I've never been in the self-help section. When I was writing my papers in college and in graduate school, you couldn't use those self-help books. You couldn't even use Psychology Today. You were not allowed to. When you were told the type of paper you were writing, when you were doing your presentation, you could not cite self-help books as your resources. They were more academic, which I have a lot of respect for. So is she helping certain individuals? I'm sure she is. That's why there are stadiums and arenas filled with her what she has to say to people, right? Her message. Wonderful if that works for you. It doesn't work for a lot of people. I think it's going to leave you empty. It only is going to take you so far. In her book, she talked about, because another friend told me this, she talked about being hurt about all of her friends going on a group trip and posting it. She saw the posting. She wasn't invited. She's like, oh, let them. Well, that's really hard for a lot of people. Let them. I think that you do need to talk about the hurt you feel and the pain that you feel. Why that let them? Okay, well, sure, let them. You have to let them. They went ahead, they did it, and they're posting their photos on Facebook.
It's like a cop out.
So what is it? What is it that you need to work on inside of you? I had this happen actually to a friend of mine recently, where this did happen, and there's the mom group. All the moms went. The mom knows that my friend is on Facebook. They're all friends on Facebook. She posted the pictures, and my friend's like, "What? I cannot believe this." She was so deeply hurt. Well, let them. Well, they did it. So she had to process through her deep hurt and pain around how this group of mothers did this, and the questions that came up for her. Well, why did they do this? This is just some core, sort of like mean girl bullying in our late 30s, early 40s. Why did she do it? And what did that bring up for me is old issues of this is something that happened to me when I was in junior high. Now I'm in my early 40s and it's happening again. I mean, it brought up a lot of stuff for this friend of mine. So of course she had to let them, and you must go further with it and talk about what's going on inside of you.
Right.
Why is this hard for you?
And what's tomorrow look like? How are we pushing forward?
And so what's this mean for you for your future? Absolutely. Great point, Tim. Great point. What's this mean for you? So maybe you're going to find another circle of friends, and we're going to do the work. And this is what I do as a therapist coach. We're doing the work of how to move you out of that pain. I'm going to be with you in your pain. So I'm not going to bypass it. I'm not going to do some toxic positivity. Just let them. No. She's deeply hurt. We're going to spend some time talking about that, kind of moving around in that dark space inside of you and feeling that pain, sitting with it, letting it percolate to the surface. Then we're moving in. I'm going to coach you up on how you're going to move out of that. And we're going to get you to a place. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about maybe you're going to find a new friend group. Maybe we're going to talk about, I'm going to teach you the confidence skills you need to feel better about yourself and to move out of that hurt. I'm going to coach you up on where you want to be 6 months from now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it. And that's why that to me, at some level, is about a toxic positivity.
Sure.
For some people, it can't be just let them. For many, it's not.
It's not even about for some people. I think it's for some circumstances. Maybe you can push through that with that mantra, but not all the time, not every time.
And there is a growing, which I love, there is a growing concern, conversation amongst coaches today. So the coaching industry about this ethical tension that they are experiencing. So veteran coaches, people have been doing it for a long time, who are really good at what they do, they are also seeing there is an ethical tension in modern practice for the coaching industry. And I love that they're having that conversation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here are the hidden costs of this spiritual bypassing and toxic positivity. When we're suppressing emotions, when we're telling our friends, family members, or our clients to suppress their emotions, all that does is it increases stress and depression. There's a proposed 2025, so this year, study that predicts forced toxic positivity, it worsens the mental health markers. So the mental health markers are already up, they're going up. So I would tell you all to really move away from anybody who's going to do this toxic positivity thing with you, especially if you're looking for a coach or a therapist.
Yeah.
If you see that, that's it. Bye-bye.
Keep moving.
One session, moving on, or one consultation, moving on. That's not your gal. That's not your guy. And I would slowly step back from any friend or family member who's going to be toxically positive with you. The hidden costs are victim blaming. And I will say lucky girl syndrome can do this. It can leave people feeling faulty about themselves when these positive affirmations don't work. Parenting experts warn that it fosters toxic self-evaluation. Because I don't feel that way. I don't feel lucky. I don't feel like a lucky girl. So I did do this, I think it was back in 2022, early 23. And I will say that although I think there's something to it, maybe I'm going to admit, maybe I made a mistake talking about it. because I think that lucky girl works for some people. It doesn't work for a lot of people who are struggling, especially anxiety and depression, where there's a diagnosis. Even if there's not a diagnosis, if that's something you're going through right now, it's like, I don't feel lucky. I can't get there. I can't get there.
Yeah.
So I hear you. I see you. I want to say that for all of you who don't feel that way, I see you. I get it. The hidden cost is relationship damage. A nursing analysis finds receivers of toxic positivity feel invalidated and they pull away. Like I just said, this is the family piece, especially. You're not going to listen to me. I've had coaches do this to me. If you're not going to listen to me, you're going to just skim over the surface of the water, what I just said to you, because you don't know how to deal with what I just said.
Yeah.
And you can be like, it's going to be okay. Then you need to move away from those people.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's a total invalidation of you.
When you asked me that question a little bit ago, what was my answer?
I'm not going to talk to you.
I'm not talking to you anymore.
I'm not talking to you.
Right? Like, I think that's most
I'll
people.
keep you on the periphery of my friend and family circle. You're on the outskirts.
Yeah.
You're not part of my inner circle.
Yeah.
Or what I call with my coaching clients, my therapy clients. You all know, those of you who are clients of mine, you know I talk about the inner sanctum. So if you work with me, we'll get into it with you. But it's one of the things I talk about, the inner sanctum. Those people are on the periphery of you in your life.
And even in a professional conversation, you're going to look elsewhere. You're not going to consider that professional going forward.
Yeah, no.
Right.
A hidden cost is premature transcendence, spiritual bypassing. Really, it does skip the shadow work that I think so many of us need to do. We did an episode probably 2 or 3 years ago now. I talked about doing shadow work. First of all, that was a much listened to episode. And that was probably the most response emails I got from people who said this resonated. People came to work with me from that episode. And these are coaching clients who wanted to do and did do shadow work with me. Shadow work comes from psychotherapy. So they wanted to move to a certain area in their life. And many of them had been in therapy, but they knew, gosh, there's just something that's still holding me back. There's this one piece that I didn't really work on, or I did it, but I did it 10 years ago. I did it 5 years ago. I need to go back and do that because I want to be here in my marriage. I want to be here in my job. I want to be wherever it is. They had goals for themselves, but they knew they needed a tune-up session around their shadow work. So this is a really big part of what I do, the shadow work. So the spiritual bypassing and toxic positivity completely can erase it or be very shallow about it.
Yeah.
It leaves people feeling flat and actually leaves people feeling not listened to,
Totally.
and not seen and heard.
100%.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it does.
Yeah. Yeah. And what it can happen is it can lead to this trauma that's inside of us that we have, it's unintegrated. We have not integrated the trauma into our lives. And what it does is it perpetuates stalled growth. We're not growing.
Well, isn't that the fear that somebody's going to actually buy into that? If I hear that approach being used with me over and over and again, at some point, am I going to consider like, well, maybe that is it. Maybe I should listen to that. Yeah, that's scary.
Yes. And we invalidate ourselves. And we think like, okay, I just need to get over it. It's not that big of a deal. No, I said that's BS. I call BS on that. If you feel that way inside yourself, if you're thinking something, listen to it. That's your self-love. So this is not toxic positivity, the hashtag self-love. Self-love is doing the deep work on you. Self-love is intuiting, knowing that something doesn't feel right. And so when my coach talks to me about this or that, or maybe it's your therapist, but it's probably mostly your coach or your sister or your friend, it's okay. It's not that bad. You've dealt with that before. And you're like, yeah, I have dealt with that. I should be over this but now. I'm telling you, tell yourself, am I over it? If you're saying I should be over it, and I'm not. That's what you listen to. And I'm not. Get help around that. It's like your still small voice inside of you is coming up and saying, tapping you on your shoulder. It is your shadow going, no. There's more work here. There's something that's not complete for you. You need to do that work. So get with someone, whether that's a therapist, you got trauma work that you need to do, a therapist like me as a hybrid, we know how to help you. Forget the shallowness.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, if you feel like there's someone in your life who's doing that to you, I want you to move away from them.
Yeah.
Not cut them out of your life, but move away from them, or they're not the person who's going to meet your needs around what you need to look at in your life. So maybe they're your friend you go out with, maybe they're your mom. That's just not your person that you're going to talk to about these really big issues, thoughts, and feelings that are inside of you. Make sense?
Yeah. And I think you have to shout, and your group needs to shout this message from the mountaintops,
I
because
know.
like there's so many people out there that don't even know what we're saying today is will never and has never crossed their mind. They will just stumble through life and they'll listen to those people.
But here's the thing. Why am I not feeling better? Why am I not feeling better?
Right.
Why are my relationships still the way they were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Why am I still depressed? Why do I still get anxiety all the time? Why am I still at this age? I'm at the top of the corporate ladder dealing with imposter syndrome. Why am I not more confident and successful and happy and go on and on and on about all the things in your life?
Yeah.
Because of this toxic positivity and spiritual bypassing, good vibes only, light and love, light and love. No,
Yeah.
no.
But see, then the next question is what? So what to do about it?
Yes.
That's where it's this message needs to become bigger, because there's a whole audience out there that needs to hear it.
Yes. I think millions of people out there
Millions.
who need to hear this message.
There you go.
The AG1 you've heard me talking about for so long just went through a major upgrade. AG1's Next Gen is here. So what is Next Gen? It is a daily health drink clinically shown to support gut health and close common nutrient gaps, even in the healthiest of eaters. With 5 new probiotic strains and additional vitamins and minerals, AG1 Next Gen represents the biggest step forward for daily foundational nutrition. 1 scoop in the morning with 8 to 12 ounces of cold water adds up to whole body health from vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and whole food sourced ingredients. AG1's Next Gen is now one of the most clinically backed greens powders. Can you believe it? They went above and beyond the industry standard in testing and have made a great product even better. AG1, it's been a game changer for me for my mornings. It sets the tone for my day, helps me feel my best, and I genuinely look forward to drinking it in the morning. Now clinically backed with an advanced formula, this is a perfect time to try AG1 if you haven't already. I've been drinking AG1 for more than 5 years now, and I'm so happy that I am partnering with them. So subscribe today to get the Next Gen of AG1. If you use my link, you're also going to get a free bottle of AG D3K2, an AG1 welcome kit, and 5 of the upgraded AG1 travel packs with your first order. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/Anna to get started with AG1's Next Gen and notice the benefits for yourself. That's drinkag1.com/Anna. I want to go into some red flags and you all that I want to pinpoint for all of you that you're experiencing the spiritual bypassing or toxic positivity. We already talked about the good vibes only. Please be careful of that in group chats or masterminds that you're attending. Good vibes only, forget that. No, not good vibes only, all right? I reject that. Statements that reframe systemic issues as mindset. So this is a big one for me. This comes from my social work therapy background. Poverty is just a scarcity vibe. Yeah, okay. And I do talk about growth mindset, abundance mindset, and scarcity mindset. But there are people who truly are in poverty. They could do a whole episode on this. It drives me crazy. These are systemic issues for many, many people. Poverty is a systemic issue. I'm not giving them an excuse, but there are reasons. And when you tell them that this is just a scarcity vibe, that totally denies their history, their past, their story, their narrative.
Yeah. You're trying to dismiss it.
That drives
Yeah.
I get hot about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's negating that person and their story and where they're from.
Right.
Not that they can't get out of it, but don't tell somebody their poverty is a scarcity vibe, scarcity mindset. That's the worst thing you could do. Not good for the industry. Spiritual cliches that are deployed to really shut down conversation. Like, you just need to trust the universe, or everything is really perfect. Everything really is perfect. I've heard this before. Trust the universe, trust the universe. Okay, come on, people. Come on. Ugh.
How do you
Y'all are seeing me today in my true form.
I'm just wondering what gets inside somebody to make them think and then
Because I think-
ultimately say it out loud to people and believe that that's true.
Well, this is the thing. I do think that, yes, trust the universe, trust God. And what do you need to do to move into that trust? It's both. It's both and.
Yeah.
It's both and. It's not just trust the universe. It's all going to come happy. I just manifest it. No, you're going to work your butt off to get what you want. You're like Ryan Holiday talks about it. The great Stoic. I have a lot of the Stoics. Ryan Holiday is a really big guy in social media now. He's a best-selling author of books on Stoicism. I'm looking over here because I have this one right here. Ryan Holiday, look him up. I've heard him talk about with life coaches around manifestation and people in the wellness industry. And yeah, you can manifest all day long. And I do manifest things happening in my life. I mean, there are people who are very critical of vision boards, or people who are like, no, vision boards work. Whatever works for you. I'm not going to knock vision boards. I do think they really do work for people in all the different ways that you might want to manifest greatness in your life. Absolutely. Go ahead. By all means, do it. I can support all that. And you're going to work very hard to get it. Mm-hmm. So you're not just going to trust the universe and get to it, get to work.
Yeah. And I would think that,
and you're going to work hard.
Somebody that makes that statement out loud forgets everything that happens from and to the end of the sentence. They say what they say. They don't consider that there's an and anything else.
And right. I have to say this again. There are life coaches that I follow that I have a lot of respect for. They would say that too. And they've also been in the industry 20 plus years, and they are also seeing the ethical issues that come up. They're the ones who are going to say, listen, this is not my wheelhouse, what you're talking about here. You're talking about some stuff in your childhood. I'm not trained in this. You got to get yourself a therapist. I can continue to work with you, but I can't talk to you. I can't have these conversations with you because I'm not trained in it. Those are the really good coaches out there. And they're the ones who would just say, you trust the universe. Unfortunately, I think there are more that would say that because they actually deep down inside, they don't know how to help you.
Yeah.
Right. And we know the platitudes when they're spoken to us. All right. Other red flags that you're getting spiritual bypassing or toxic positivity from someone in your life is immediate reframing of grief or anger in your life into this is a lesson for you without space to feel your feelings. You're really angry about something and you're going through a lot of grief and loss. And someone says, these are lessons, these are life's lessons. You have to have space to feel your feelings around all that.
Yeah.
And they don't want to, they're not going to, they don't care enough. They don't have to hold space for you or give you the oxygen in the room to really go there. And this can be personal or professional.
I mean, there's a lot of minimizing here, right?
A lot of minimization, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of that in what you're saying right now.
Yeah, yeah. And this is out there.
Yeah.
You're seeing this a lot in social media. And the last one is praise. You getting praise for suppressing your emotions. And I have seen this. I've seen this in my family. People saying about other members of the family, she just never complains. She's always positive. Well, have I heard that in my life? She never complains. He never complained. Just always high vibes. Always so positive. Well, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
My question is, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
And they're just doing it with you because that's not how they are really in life. That's not how they're always showing up. They show up that way to you. Here are some ways to move out of this toxic positivity, spiritual bypassing. And this is all about curiosity. This is never about shame. Number one, if you are guilty of this, you can be toxically positive. You're a positive person, but it can go to the point of getting to be toxic. Do some of your own homework on that. If you're somebody who does a spiritual bypassing, like all good vibes, or don't know how to be there for somebody who's coming to you, a friend, a family member, if you're a professional, I'm not talking to you because you need to have this training and you ought to know this by now. But this is people in your personal life. I think you could say something like, I notice that we often jump to like the silver linings of things. I think that's a wonderful way to move deeper with a friend or family member or a coworker. If you want to do this with a coworker, I notice that we always jump to the silver linings. It's human to feel heavy. I feel that way too. I have days that suck. Just be real, be human. Bring out the observation that doesn't always have to be so positive.
You're speaking now to the person.
I'm talking to you.
Receiving that.
Yes.
Just
and
way
I'm
too
talking
rosy
to you,
statement.
And I'm talking to you. I'm coaching y'all up on if you're the one who can be toxically positive at times, and you're the one who does a spiritual bypassing because you don't know what to do or you don't know what to say to the other person.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are some cues to help you change the way you have been. I'm not so much talking. Well, maybe I'm talking to coaches because maybe you need to hear this, but my therapist colleagues, they all know this. I'm not talking to them. I know they're right in here with me on this. And a lot of coaches are too, but some coaches need to hear this as well. Okay. It's both and language. And I said this earlier, it's both and. Replace at least At least you don't have stage 4 cancer. At least it's just stage 1.
So there's that.
Well, you had that. I mean, that's the worst.
No, I know. Yeah.
Scary. You have to go through chemo.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah.
How do you know it can't go from stage 1 to stage 3? You don't know that. No one knows that, right?
True.
At least both dogs didn't get killed. I don't know what it could be. It could be anything. At least you're whatever, right? I know the look on your face.
No, it could be any topic.
It could be anything.
Yeah. At least you saved a lot of money before you lost your job.
Yeah.
You put some money
That's
away.
in savings.
Yeah. So there's
Right.
that.
Yeah.
What?
At least he only cheated on you with one girl, not like 10, like Susie or Joe over there. You know, they were really bad.
It's always
Okay,
Susie.
so we all can, I'm sure you all can think of it,
Yeah.
of examples in your life. Replace at least with, it's understandable that you're feeling whatever, blah, blah, blah. And let's explore that together, or let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You're holding space for them and you're honoring the way they feel.
Makes sense.
There you go.
Yeah.
Easy. But you have to be willing, and you have to find it within yourself, if you're the friend or family member, to have the emotional bandwidth to listen to them. This is important. If you don't have the emotional bandwidth to listen to it, then don't even go there with this conversation with them. Or maybe you need to get some coaching around how you can show up as a better friend and family member.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know. Maybe you haven't learned how to listen. Maybe you haven't learned how to deal with your own stuff.
Right.
Your own stuff before you go. And that's why you're toxically positive to people in your life, because you haven't done your work. Get that? Does that make sense?
There is a time and place for just being there as a listener, being there as a sounding board. There is a place for that and a need for that. I think what you're saying is that be better at recognizing when that is.
And I think that you don't have to have all the words. You don't have to have all the skills.
You don't have to have any of the
You don't have to have any of it. That's not your job. You're not a coach. You're not the therapist. And I think what is really important that you just said is sometimes it's just give them your undivided attention, bring emotional availability to them, be emotionally available. You don't have to know what to say. We talked about going to the funeral. I have no words. I don't know what to say, but I'm here to listen. Go ahead and listen to them. Don't talk. Listen.
Yeah.
The most important thing that we all pick up on, and you all know this who are watching it on YouTube and listening, you all know when someone is listening to you because they are completely in it. They're in the moment with you. And we know it. We know when someone's distracted. We know when someone's not really listening. Usually because they're trying to interject and talk about something. Or like, that reminds me of that time. Don't do that. Just listen to them. That gets rid of all this toxic stuff and the spiritual bypassing. And what is it that you and I feel when someone does that for us? They're listening. They're giving me all the oxygen in the room right now to let me just be.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're not expecting a response. You're not expecting advice. You're good with not getting that back.
Because I think that emotions are granular. I think it's important that we allow people to get granular about how they feel. I'm disappointed. Like, ask questions, get curious. How did that happen? And what did you think? Or what did you feel when they said that to you? I felt disappointed. I totally got my anxiety going. I was in a spiral of anxiety. I felt hopeful. I felt hopeful that he was going to do what he said he was going to do. I felt hopeful about this or that. Get granular with people.
Yeah.
It shows you care. It shows you're curious about them and you're interested. You want to hear their story. You want to hear that narrative.
Right. And I think what you're saying too is instead of offering this advice or these pie in the sky statements, ask questions instead. Let that person have their time and stimulate it. Ask another question. So how'd you feel about that? You know what I mean? Just be that, go that direction. Right.
I could go on and on. There's a whole long list here, but we're running out of time. I want to say something for all of you who are on social media, or those of you who are on TikTok and Instagram, or I don't know, maybe it's in Snapchat or Facebook. Less on Facebook, I think, today, but I want you to model emotional realism. So when you share your posts on social media, please make them balanced. This is more of what we need that the world is seeing. So rather than being like love and light, positive vibes only, say something like today was equal parts gratitude and frustration. Be real, get real. That's what resonates for people. We're not as interested anymore in your highlight reels. We're not as interested in seeing you with the glow up on your face, although I do it on TikTok because I'm middle-aged. I look bad. But talk about real things. Most people don't have this gorgeous kitchen. Most people don't have this gorgeous yard, a gorgeous apartment. Most of our bedrooms are a mess. Our bed's not made. Our kitchen, there's dishes in the sink. Be real.
Yeah.
That's what's attractive.
Yeah.
So talk about your gratitude. Talk about the positive thing that happened today. Talk about how the journey that you're on, what is good about this journey that you're on. Maybe it's a weight loss journey or it's a gratitude journey. And also talk about the blips on the screen or the road bumps that you hit today that made you trip and fall, of how you got mad at something and you went back to your old ways and you got pissed off and angry and you got in a fight with your mom and a fight with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Talk about that too, because it makes you real and actually makes you more attractive.
Yeah, I think that one's a tough one because you have to come to grips with being vulnerable to open that box up
Yeah.
in the world, in full view of everybody. So there's that.
Yeah. It takes confidence. It takes courage.
It does take
It
confidence.
takes risk.
And I think that most people that are a frequent flyer in posting what you're talking about, they're more interested in giving that positive vibe with that wonderful backdrop or that great location. Because what does that do for them? The return on that for them is like, oh, so-and-so saw this and so-and-so like this. And you know what I mean? It's like, I got all these fellow, like that's their feedback. To be able to go the other way and make somebody flip the script on that is like, that's the tough ask for something.
Well, I think it's important to ask though, because you're getting hits of dopamine when you're seeing all the positive stuff on your social media accounts. But then when you put your phone down, you're back in your life,
There you
back
go.
on your bed, back in your apartment, back in your little house, whatever it is that you're critical of and that you're ripping on, that probably nobody else would rip on as much as you're ripping on the things in your life. And it falls flat. Where does it leave you? You got a dopamine hit 30 seconds ago, but someone's calling your name. You're off. You got to get back to work or you got to make dinner.
Yeah.
And then where are you?
Exactly.
I don't think it helps us to always be seeing the fakeness of people's lives.
Right.
And that's all this toxic positivity. It's along the same lines, the same slippery slope of toxic positivity and spiritual bypassing. Well, let's go back. So you've got somebody who's in grief. We're going to do a recap real quickly. Instead of saying everything happens for a reason, say something like we said earlier. I don't have easy words for this. I'm here to witness whatever is present for you. I'm here for you, whatever you need. Okay. Let's take a work situation. You've got a team member who's really upset about something. And I cannot imagine you saying this, but you'd be like, let's keep it positive. Come on, let's keep it positive. And you might see this more in sales meetings. Instead of that, someone's upset. All right, let's take 5 to name what's hard here. Let's take 5. Let's name it. What's been hard about this morning? What was hard about that situation, that scenario with that client?
Yeah.
Then we can brainstorm support.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's a quick one. You're seeing them where they're at in that moment. You're being real with them about this is what's going on. And then let's take 5 minutes for that.
Yeah.
Then we'll move on.
I've seen the opposite so many times. The conversation needs to and is about to get really difficult.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some tough things for people to say and even tougher things for people to hear. And then somebody decides to grab the wheel and let's turn the car this way. Let's not go there with all that stuff. And then it's like, well, we never addressed any of it. And then now we're still going forward sort of in a different direction.
Yeah. And I will never forget. And I was so mad about this. I must have been like in my late 20s. And I remember we were at a family dinner. I was home visiting my parents. And those of you who don't know, I'm one of 8 kids. There were a lot of us. There's just a lot of people around the table with in-law, adult children. And one of our good family members, family friends, a priest, was having dinner. And growing up Catholic, my parents were devoutly Catholic. There were a lot of dinners where we had priests. They were good friends of ours and they still are to this day at dinner. A couple of these priests were like, I have 4 brothers. They were like my 5th and 6th brother. They were just truly like family members. And this one priest, I won't say his name, unfortunately, he's passed on now. My dad was talking about a situation. This is more than 20 years ago now, probably. My dad was talking about a situation with somebody at work. My dad was a doctor and was talking about a situation with another doctor in the doctor's room outside of the operating room, the OR. And my dad had a really difficult conversation with this other surgeon about something he disagreed with. And he had been dealing with this and had it in his mind, in his heart, to say something to the surgeon for a long time, but they were friends. And my dad called him out and confronted him on something that he was doing, that he was saying. And then the doctor was got really upset. And in telling the story, my father got emotional, which I never heard the story before. My dad got emotional and he's choked up. My dad was like going to start to, he was choking up. He was tearful. He was going to start crying, but he was tearful telling the story. And the priest that we're friends with, who was like a brother to me, he completely interrupted my dad, stopped the story Okay, let's go into something else. He became so uncomfortable with my father's emotions around the story. My father was comfortable around his emotions. It's telling, and he's a very emotional man.
Yeah.
Crying is not a thing in my family. It was not a thing in that we cried easily. And we showed emotions easily, especially as we told stories. But he was uncomfortable with it. He shut it down. And I got so mad at him. I kind of yelled at him. And we weren't getting along very well back then. We had a period when we did not get along. And that was the beginning of it. I said, don't stop him. Don't shut him down. Let him tell the story. And he got mad at me for yelling at him. And it caused a lot of tension in our relationship for years after. But there you go. That's another example of my father telling a story that the priest didn't want to hear because he's so uncomfortable with my father's emotions.
Right.
He shut it down. So let's keep it positive. That doesn't work. And it doesn't work for a lot of people. And here's another example. Like you see a lot of these groups on Facebook, you see these rules where it says no negativity allowed. Okay.
That's one of the
we join these
requirements to become a member.
It is
right?
a requirement.
Like you must. Yeah.
No negativity allowed. Versus you might want to say something like all emotions welcome. Offer empathy first, solutions second.
Yeah.
So all emotions welcome, offer empathy first, solutions second.
Yeah.
Now that's easier said than done. I personally would not want to be an admin in some of these Facebook groups that I have been in and that I'm in because they can be hard. They can be hard to administer those groups because my gosh, it's like the Wild West out there with the things that people
You
say.
might want to just consider whether you want to be in that group, first of all.
Let's end with this. Positivity without authenticity is emotional avoidance in disguise. Okay? Positivity without authenticity is emotional avoidance in disguise. My role as a therapist and my role as a coach is to expand, not narrow, the range of acceptable human feelings. So I will say this to all therapists know this, and I say this to all coaches out there. It's our job to expand and not narrow the range of acceptable human feelings, pairing hope with honest witnessing. As a life coach, people are coming to me for certain things, goals, and things they want in their life. But just this week alone, I have 2 clients. One's dealing with confidence. One is also dealing with something very different in her life around her next chapter. So we're working on her next chapter. And there are 2 major things that have happened in their lives. And I have to be there for them and show up for them. So I spent entire coaching sessions this week, probably more the role of therapist for them, because that is what they needed. We're going to go back to confidence. We're going to go back to reaching their goals of where they want to be a year from now. We're going to go back to them making more money and them having a more successful, whatever it is that they're wanting. And this week, it is about being there for them, showing up emotionally available, asking those questions, helping them sort through the process that they need to go through. Because I can't not do that. I'm not doing my due diligence, my job. I feel like it's almost, I don't feel it is unethical for me to bypass where they're at.
Yeah.
That's what makes you a good coach.
Yeah.
And having the skills to help them through it.
Yeah. And so the visual with what you're just describing is a great takeaway, whether you're in a business meeting, you're with your friend, you're with your sister, you're in this situation. We're all moving forward, but there is a time and place to move sideways.
Yes.
Right? Like you need to take a step sideways to deal, and then you can take that.
And then we get back we get back on the main road.
Of course we do.
Yes.
But you must pause, sideways step it, deal.
We got to get off on the side road for a little bit. We got to hang out on that road, go a few miles down the road, then we're going to turn around, we're going to go back to the main road.
Yeah.
That's my job. And that's what I do for you. Okay, everybody, thanks for listening. Please don't forget to rate, review the podcast 5 stars. You know where to find me, hello@annamarkalead.com if you want coaching and if you want therapy in the state of Illinois. All right. Mad love. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time.
All right.